This really marks the beginning of the battle. And so here you can see the nicchio, the shell contrada, with the alfiere, two alfieri, and the drummer in front, the tamburino, and the rest of the comparsa, the historical parade. All of the 17 contrade will make their way in front of the cathedral, where they will be underneath, right behind us, you can't see it, but behind us is the Archbishop's palace, and the Archbishop is directly above us, and he will salute all of the 17 consorelle, all of the 17 contrade. And here we're going to see a flag display by the nicchio, the shell contrada. They're actually looking for the Archbishop right now. Yes, he's there, they can start. And there you have the contrada, the noble contrada, the nicchio, the noble contrada of the shell, and they have just done their flag routine in front of the Archbishop. And in fact, you saw before, they were making sure that he was ready. And the new Archbishop, Lo Giudice, who just is new to Siena a few months ago, so this is only his second palio and his first palio of the Assumption of the Virgin. Of course, the Assumption of the Virgin is celebrated throughout the Catholic world, in particular on the 15th of August. Today is the 16th, and the cathedral that you're looking at is dedicated to the Assumption of the Virgin, Santa Maria Assunta, because the Virgin Mary, she did not die in Catholic tradition, rather she went to sleep, the dormition of the Virgin, and she was assumed bodily into heaven, which is why we have no physical remains of the Virgin. There are no relics of her, but rather maybe things that she wore or touched. Now, as you see, the nicchio is leaving there. You have the Paggio Maggiore. The Paggio Maggiore, the major page, is the figure who carries the largest flag of the contrada. Then you also have representation of the trades of all of the 17 contrade, and the nicchio represents the potters in history. There's the people of the nicchio and then the actual members of the nicchio contrada. They are not running this palio, but of course they still are present in the historical parade. Now we will await the arrival of the chiocciola, the snail. They are, of course, competing in this palio race. So here is the tamburino, the drummer, and the two alfieri. applause there for the tamburino and the alfieri, the drummer and the flag wavers of the chiocciola, as they now have saluted the Archbishop. And here comes the Duce, the commander, in full armor. And in fact, if you've been following us, you will remember that the young men of the Contrada were polishing the armor of the Duce just the other day when we interviewed some of the young members of the Contrada. There go the men at arms and the major page there with the large flag of the chiocciola, followed by members of the chiocciola wearing their fazzoletti, their neck scarves. You can only wear your fazzoletto, of course, if your contrada is running in the palio. The only other opportunity to wear your neck scarf is during your contrada's patron saint celebration, the festa titolare. And then, of course, after you win the palio, you get to wear your neck scarf as often as you like until the next palio. These are the rules of Siena. So now you can see the chiocciola flags are also waving in front of Santa Maria della Scala. The Contrade they are entering into Piazza Duomo. They will do their flag waving routine in front of the Archbishop's palace, in front of the Archbishop himself, Lo Giudice. And then they will go around Santa Maria della Scala and they will make their way into the Palazzo dei Governatori, the governor's palace, which is directly in front of us. We'll get a shot of that in a minute. And all the Contrade will wait inside the governor's palace, and in there they will have a little bit of a rest, of course, maybe get something to drink before they exit out and begin that long procession to the Piazza del Campo, where they will do one lap around before the palio race starts. And you can hear applause as people appreciate the skill that the flag wavers must have. Remember, the flag wavers, the alfieri, the young boys start training together when they're little. The boys might say, hey, I'd like to do the drums, or I'd like to do the flag. And then the flag wavers are always trained in pairs, in twos. And they train together, not just for months, but years and years and years. Some of them even competing in the mini Masgalano, with the hope eventually of becoming young men who enter into the Piazza del Campo to represent their contrada. Here you'll recognize the colors of the selva, the green, orange, and white. The selva is the forest. We've seen them already once today before the blessing of the horse, after the blessing of the horse. The tamburino will turn around in a moment, and the two alfieri, the two flag wavers, will do their routine for the Archbishop. You see that after that lovely flag routine, then the Duce raises his sword to the Archbishop as a sign of respect. And again, the Duce, the commander, is followed by the men at arms, and then the major page, the Paggio Maggiore, and the other flag wavers, Portavesi, and the members of the Contrada of the Selva. And here comes the Lupa, the she-wolf, not competing in this palio race, but still a member, still one of the very important 17 contrade. And so now the Lupa will also do their salute and routine to the Archbishop. There go the Lupaioli, very thrilled because this might be their first time entering into the piazza as flag wavers, this young pair here. There is the Duce now, his brow being wiped down because it is rather warm here, but it's wonderful to see these uniforms, kilos and kilos of armor, the commander followed by the men-at-arms, and then the Paggio Maggiore, the major page, and then of course the dirigenza. There's the prior of the Lupa, followed by members of the Lupa giving a wave to the Archbishop. You'll notice that when the Alfieri, so keep an eye out for this when the next Contrada enters, when the Alfieri start to twirl their flags, to wrap them around to do that final, that high launch of the two flags where they cross over, that is when the commander will draw his sword and then salute the Archbishop, and you'll see that it's quite a sight to behold again anytime you see a sword drawn in public. So again, this harks back to when Siena was really one of the most important cities of the 13th and 14th centuries. It had a vast, vast territory, and in fact the Palio itself is an evocation of this military might of Siena from the 13th and 14th centuries, in particular from the Battle of Montaperti in the year 1260. So this is when Siena was at its political, military, economic, artistic height. And in fact, all of these wonderful monuments that you see in the city, the Duomo included, Santa Maria la Scala behind, they were really expanded upon and built to their full glory in the 13th and 14th century. That also includes the Piazza del Campo and the Palazzo Pubblico, the town hall of Siena, which was started in 1297 and finished in the 14th century and then added on to. Here now we await the Torre, the Tower Contrada. They are indeed running this Palio race. there go the Torre, the Torraioli, the members of the Torre, the Tower Contrada, the Tamburino, the drummer, the two Alfieri, the flag wavers, the Duce, friend of the show. We interviewed Lorenzo a few days ago, followed by the men at arms and the major page and flag wavers. It's lovely to see some of our friends, people that we've interviewed on Palio Live, dressed for the piazza. Now we have the Drago, the Dragon Contrada, coming in. Drago, the Dragon Contrada, they also are competing in this Palio race of August 16th, 2019. Off goes the Tamburino and due Alfieri, the one drummer and the two flag wavers, the Duce, the commander, the men-at-arms, the major page, and other flag holders of the Contrada, and members of the Drago with a warm salute to the new Archbishop. And they're singing as well. And again, remember those neck scarves, we call those fazzoletti here, which literally means tissues in Italian, but in the Sienese dialect we have a few words that mean something different. So the fazzoletto here in Siena refers to the neck scarf that Contraraioli wear around their necks. The neck scarf traditionally is given to you at your baptism, which generally occurs when you are a child. When you're born, your parents choose to baptize you into a contrada, of which you will be a member for life, should you so choose. Sometimes people get baptized later in life, and this is a lay baptism, not a church baptism. So we have this wonderful intersection of the sacred and the profane. So it might be that you're baptized into a church when you're born, and then you're baptized into a contrada and given your fazzoletto, which traditionally you're not meant to untie. The prior, the president of your contrada, ties the neck scarf for you, and the only time you untie it is when you win the palio, so that you can tie your ciuccio or your pacifier onto your fazzoletto, because if you win the palio, you are reborn, and that pacifier represents the fact that you are a newborn contradaiolo. Here comes the Montone, Val di Montone, the Valley of the Ram. They are not competing in this palio race, nor is their rival, the Nicchio, so we call this a palio da turista. They have a tourist palio, but let's see their flag display. members of the contrada di Val di Montone, Valley of the Ram or the Ram. I mentioned before this is a quote-unquote tourist palio for them because they are not running and neither is their rival. So they can enjoy the palio. Of course, they haven't got the possibility of winning the palio, but neither does their rival. Now it looks like there's going to be a little bit of a pause as we wait for the other contrade to arrive. I think I can see a flag down there in the Via del Capitano. As we learned with our friend Professor Marie-Ange Causarano, the Via del Capitano used to be called the Via Sancte Mariae because here we are on the Cathedral Hill, and the cathedral is dedicated to the Virgin Mary, of course, as is the city of Siena. Montone is doing another flag display in front of Santa Maria della Scala, the hospital founded at least in the 12th century, if not before, and an institution in Siena for nearly 1,000 years. Now, as Montone does their second flag display, I can see that the Oca, the Goose Contrada, the Nobil Contrada dell'Oca, the noble contrada of the goose, is about to arrive in front of the cathedral. The colors of the goose are red, white, and green, the colors of Italy. And in fact, I remember in 2011 there was the Palio race that commemorated 150 years of unification, which the Oca won. And so in Palio tradition, superstition, shall we say, it seemed destined that the contrada that had the colors of the Italian tricolor flag should win that particular Palio. Here they come again, some faces that we've seen before on Palio Live. Enrico Totti there, a famous historian, as well as a member of the Goose Contrada. He was kind enough to speak with us last Palio in the Contrada of the Museum of the Goose. So let's watch their flag display. And again, you saw the salute to the Archbishop, and the Duce, the commander, raised his weapon in recognition of the Archbishop. There goes the major page with that large flag featuring the goose with the crown and the men-at-arms.
Che poesia.
Che poesia, yes. Well, as we're waiting for the next contrada, siamo qui con un amico nostro, Enzo. Che ci dici di questa esperienza? Te ci sei ogni anno qui,
Sì.
in questa posizione per ogni palio, perché?
Perché comunque appunto si respira una poesia, uno spessore straordinario, direi, fantastico, qualcosa di mistico addirittura, secondo me,
So not
qualcosa
only
che va oltre.
sì, infatti, this is not just a beautiful display, but it's a poetic display, something that's almost mystical, that goes beyond. Perché te sei poeta, no?
Sì, sì, certamente, no, certamente, amo molto la poesia e quindi diciamo questa manifestazione ha una consonanza assolutamente con la poesia, con la più alta poesia, non c'è dubbio. Il tamburo stesso è definito dagli orientali un suono mistico, sicuramente.
Ok,
Sì.
sì.
Come altri suoni, come anche il calpestio dei cavalli è definito mistico, per dire. E in effetti, secondo me, si può, se si è animati da una sensibilità normale, si può cogliere questo aspetto. Ora non vorrei essere troppo impegnativo, ma secondo me è vero.
No, così mi piace. No, there's a mystical element to the rhythm of the drums. There's a mystical element even to the sound that the horse's hooves makes, that they make on the pietra serena or on the tufo itself. Right, the noise changes, and there's a mysticism about the various rhythms and noises, shall we say, of the palio. And of course, Enzo is a poet, so he sees the poetic side in all parts of life, perhaps, but especially in the palio. And he's been coming here for years and years to enjoy.
Il Palio è una manifestazione che secondo me, liberandosi di ogni sentimento campanilistico, che non ha eguali al mondo, proprio perché i secoli possono aver formato questo evento straordinario, incredibile.
This is not just something that, this is an event that is completely unlike any other. It has no rival, no parallels. So let's enjoy now the Brujo, the Nobile Contrada del Brujo, as they perform their flag display. Look for the poetry. I hope that you were listening for the poetry in the rhythm of the drum, in the way that the flag wavers moved their glorious flags, their banners, the pride of the Contrada as they made their salute to the Archbishop. And in fact, when the drummers practice, because as we've mentioned many times before, the flag wavers must practice for years and years together, and the drummers practice. And of course, in the spring, when we start hearing the drummers practice, I love hearing that sound in Siena from my room. This kind of constant hour of drumming really is quite calming and meditative in a way. Some people find it annoying, but I love it, especially because I know that it leads to either the 2nd of July or the 16th of August when the Palio takes place. You can see the members of the Bruco now, the Brucaioli, who are waving to people in the bishop's palace and to the bishop himself as they follow their contrada as they get ready to run this Palio at the 16th of August 2019. The Bruco are of course competing, as we know, with the horse Schietta and the jockey Brio. And the members now of the Caterpillar, the noble contrada of the Caterpillar, proud of their young men who have launch their flags, caught them, and continue on their way into the governor's palace, where they will have a little bit of a rest before they gather and make that final journey to the Piazza del Campo. So we've seen quite a few contrade. Now, I've already lost count, actually, but we still have quite a few more that we need to see. Remember, there are 17 contrade. Contrada can be defined as district or neighborhood or territory, but I also prefer, in a way, the term city-state, because each contrada has its own elected board of officials, it has its own constitution, and traditions slightly change from contrada to contrada. So it's very interesting that we have this unified city of Siena throughout the year, but then when it comes to the Palio, we have these 17 independent city-states, which all have a long and proud tradition. All of them are marvelous, I have to say. All of them are beautiful. All of them are part of what makes Siena the magnificent city that it is today. I'm not sure if you can see all the way to Via del Capitano, but you'll notice that there are a whole bunch of flags in the distance that don't match the colors of the contrade, and you would be right in noticing that detail. We'll talk more about what those flags represent, but if you can see, they're going into the governor's palace right now. Those are the flags that represent all the territories that Siena had dominion over in the 13th and 14th century, even up through the 15th and 16th century, when their political might and their military power then finally waned in the 15th century. They were struggling in the 16th century. Siena finally fell to Florence in 1555. But the glory of the independent republic lives here in this historical parade. I can see in Via del Capitano still more and more flags of the various places that Siena had dominion over, entering into the Palazzo del Governatore, the governor's palace. That palace itself is new, quote unquote, for Siena. It was built in the 16th century when, as I just briefly mentioned before, the Medici were able to take over Siena. It was hundreds and hundreds of years that they were fighting with each other for control of Siena, because Siena was on the Via Francigena, and in fact where we find ourselves now, between the cathedral and Santa Maria della Scala. This was the hub of medieval Siena, because the hospital of Santa Maria della Scala, as we know from our interviews with Marie-Ange Causarano and with Nora Giordano in Santa Maria della Scala itself, as well as with Professor Mario Escheri, we know that the hospital was not a hospital as we know of it today, but it was a place to welcome pilgrims and travelers along the Via Francigena. And so Siena became an incredibly important hub, at least from the year 1000, building up into the 1100s and 1200s. Thousands and thousands of travelers made their way through Siena and stayed here. And of course we know, as we can see today, when travelers pass through, what do they bring? Well, they bring money, they bring commerce, they bring trade, they bring all sorts of things to the city of Siena. And if we were to visit here in the 13th century, in the 14th century, we would have seen perhaps even a similar scene on a saint day. We would have seen people from all over Europe making a pilgrimage perhaps down to Rome or even on to Jerusalem, using this Via Francigena, the so-called Frankish route. The Frankish route, when the Roman Empire fell, a lot of the main arteries that went through the peninsula of what would eventually become Italy, because of course Italy was not founded as a country until 1861, but a lot of the main arteries from Roman times fell into disuse. They were not maintained, they became dangerous, and so slowly, I like to describe it a little bit as a woodland path, but let's say that over the decades, this path became a well-worn road, but it's not really an accurate way to describe the Via Francigena, but let's say it was a road that was started in Lombard times, and then became a main artery, a way to lead people all the way from England through Central Europe, down the peninsula of Italy to Rome for that all-important pilgrimage to Rome, and then perhaps onto the Holy Land itself to Jerusalem. Oh, there goes. You can see that there's Titia, who is riding the soprallasso. That is not the palio horse. He is not riding Schietta, sorry. He's definitely not riding Schietta because Schietta is in a different contrada. But Titia is on top of the soprallasso, not on top of Remorex. Remorex is the horse for the selva. Titia, which is a nickname that means brr, che freddo, how cold. He's riding the soprallasso, the parade horse, into the Palazzo dei Governatori, the governor's palace, and that is the horse that he will enter the Piazza del Campo on. Of course, the palio horse race must be kept light and free until the time of the palio arrives. The jockey, you will have noticed that he's dressed as a mercenary soldier. The palio is an evocation of medieval warfare, where cities would hire mercenary soldiers who had great expertise and strategic strength, shall we say, and led the various towns into battle and hopefully into victory. The mercenary soldier is not necessarily loyal to the town, but loyal to his purse. He is paid, and his loyalties are bought. But of course, as we know, they can also be betrayed. So, which mercenary soldiers will be loyal to their contrade tonight, and which ones will betray them unknowingly? Or knowingly, but the contrade might not know. It all remains to be seen tonight. But let's watch the Aquila, the Eagle Contrada, do their flag display. And there the members of the Aquila, the Eagle Contrada, the tamburino, the drummer, the two alfieri, the duce, the commander, the men-at-arms, the major page holding that large flag with the symbol, the two-headed eagle there, and the members of the Contrada waving up to the Archbishop, the children there as well. The Aquila are competing in this palio race. Their rival is also competing. Their rival is the Pantera, the Panther. So there goes the members of the Aquilini. There's Violante, who we interviewed a few days ago as well. All hopeful that their new jockey will bring victory to the Aquila once again. Here is the Giraffa. So the Giraffini, the Giraffa is not competing in this palio race, but they're probably okay with that. They just won in July. So you'll see that the members of the Giraffa are not wearing their fazzoletti because they're not competing, but many of them have a little red and white ribbon that we call the coccarda, a pin on their shirts, and that symbolizes the fact that they have just won. So they're allowed to celebrate for the rest of the year. No. So they are still riding high from their victory in July of this year. And now here is the Sovrana Contrada dell'Istrice. Some of these contrade have different titles. Sovrana, the sovereign contrada of the Porcupine. And there goes the Sovrana Contrada dell'Istrice, the sovereign contrada of the Porcupine. The tamburino, the drummer, the two alfieri, the duce, the paggio maggiore, and of course members here now of the Istrice, the Istriciaioli, wearing their fazzoletti, their neck scarves. As tradition, they follow the comparsa. And usually what happens is people will then, after the comparsa goes into the governor's palace, the members of the contrada will go along the casato and wait for them as they enter into the Piazza del Campo. The Istrice, of course, is running in this particular palio race of August 16th, 2019. But the next contrada to enter is the Leohorno, the unicorn contrada. They are not competing, but we will see their flag display as they too, of course, salute the new Archbishop of Siena. The new Archbishop was just installed a few months ago, Lo Giudice. So this is only his second palio and his first palio of the Assumption. goes the Contrada del Leocorno, the Unicorn Contrada in orange and white and blue. They are not running in this palio race, but there is the dirigente, the members, the prior and the vice president of the Contrada coming down now as we make way for the Pantera, the Panther Contrada in red, white and blue. Okay, so well done, Panther there. They caught the flags. The tamburino now leaving, followed by the two alfieri, the drummer and the two flag wavers of the Pantera, the Panther Contrada. And here you see the Duce, the commander, very shiny armor there. They've done a good job polishing that up. Followed by the men-at-arms, the major page carrying that large flag, and two other flag holders of the Contrada. And you can see the prior of the Contrada and all the members of the Panther, the Panterini, are saluting the Archbishop, the Archbishop. As we mentioned before, they are of course running in this palio race, as is their rival, the Aquila, the Eagle. Okay, now the Panterini, again you can see the Panther Contrada members with their fazzoletti, their neck scarves. And behind them you can see the yellow and blue of the Tartuga, the tortoise or turtle Contrada. Again, the turtle is not competing. They last won a palio, the extraordinary palio of the 20th of October 2018. They are not running this palio, but their rival, the Chiocciola, the snail, is. And I think I'm doing a count in my head, going through all of the Contrade alphabetically, and I think that this will be the last one. I think that we've seen all of them now. So I think the very last Contrada coming in now to salute the Archbishop, to do their flag display in front of him and in front of all of these people who have come. Oh, Civetta, ci manca Civetta, bravo. We also forgot about Civetta, not running this palio race, nor is their rival, the Unicorn. So there's a tourist palio for the couple, a couple of rivals here. So Nicchio and Montone are rivals, the Shell and the Ram. They are not running. And then Leocorno, the Unicorn, and Civetta, the Owl, are not running either. So it's a tourist palio. But for the Tartuhini, the members of the Tartuga, they might be a bit worried because their rival, the Chiocciola, is in the piazza. Another lovely flag display now by the Contrada della Tartuga, the turtle or tortoise Contrada. And I hope that you're all enjoying these various uniforms. They're all based off of a lot of Renaissance paintings, medieval uniforms. All of these uniforms are researched by various artists and historians who work together to come up with the new uniforms, which are renewed every 25 years or so. And now we have the penultimate Contrada, because of course how could we forget the Onda? But right now this is Civetta. Civetta is the owl Contrada, not competing, but very much a part of the Masgalano competition. The Contrada della Civetta, the little owl, as it were, the Priora Contrada della Civetta, to be precise. So as they do this turn around Piazza Duomo to do another flag display in front of Santa Maria della Scala, we welcome now the final of the 17 Contrade, the Onda, the Capitana Contrada dell'Onda, the Wave Contrada, and they are of course competing in this palio race this evening. And that is the final of the 17 Contrari. There goes the Onda. They will do one last flag display in front of Santa Maria della Scala. And again, you all recognize the order by now. So there goes, we just see the men at arms, follow the Duce, and then the Paggio Maggiore, and the members of the Onda Contrada. So there are the Ondaioli, again waving to the Archbishop Lo Giudice, who is up in the Bishop's Palace directly behind us, where all of the flags of the 17 contrade are displayed in alphabetical order, as is tradition. So, so that is it. I hope you've enjoyed seeing all the 17 contrade doing their flag display, saluting the Archbishop above us, and getting to understand the colors of each of the contrade, their symbols, and perhaps picking a favorite one. But you will have recognized the ones that are running because they were followed by the people wearing their neck scarves. And in fact, I have a special guest right now. Her name is Ambra, and you can see that Ambra is a member of the Onda Contrada. Ciao Ambra, come stai?
About the wave, yeah.
Yes, okay. Would you like to speak in English?
In Italian is okay also.
Whatever you like. Ambra is a tour guide, another one of my colleagues, and but you are originally from Milan.
Yes, exactly. I'm originally from Milan. I was born in Milan, but my family moved in Milan when I was a child, and so I spent all my life there. But now I live here, I study here to become a guide here, because
Do you like the palio?
No, no, definitely something that I hate, and that's why I spend all day walking around under the sun with everything on like a Christmas tree. I feel like a Christmas tree right now, but are the symbols
Yes.
of our faith, of our blood.
Yes.
So it's amazing to be here.
So you have family from Siena as well, correct?
Exactly. All my family comes from a different part of Siena. There's someone from the forest, someone from the waves, someone from the shell. She-wolf also, yes, you're right. Yeah, you know also my, right? So my father was from the wave, so I choose the wave, but we have members in each one. And
Okay.
of course, I choose the best one, of course.
I'm not going to say anything, but that
You
is her
can't say
opinion, and we're going to go with it. And of course, Ambra is also a member of the same contrada as our friend Professor Mario Ascheri. So, hello, Professor. Ciao, Prof.
So yesterday we were in the same dinner. So
Yes, I saw the picture. So one last thing, Ambra. So what are you doing now with the members of the Onda? Where will you go before the Palio?
But now I follow them since our church, because there was the blessing of the hearse until here. Now I want to go direct to the square because I'm quite afraid there will be no enough space. You know, now we have new rules
okay.
about maximum
Yes.
of people inside. So now time for a coffee, restroom, and direct to the square to take my place. That's what I'm going to do. My contrada now has to finish the historical parade.
Okay.
Let's see that. Okay?
Very good. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Go back to your contrada, have a good coffee, and io posso dire a te buon palio, dai.
Exactly. You can say me also because we have an amazing horse.
You do.
And Fantino.
I know. Okay.
Thanks so much.
Ciao, Ambra.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao, ciao. Okay, that was excellent. So now the tradition is, as Ambra said, to have a little break, get some coffee, use the restroom, and make your way into the piazza. So if you're watching now and you're thinking of going to the piazza, it is 4 o'clock. You should be inside the Piazza del Campo by about 4:30, 4:45, because they are going to close the gates of the Piazza del Campo. So you need to be inside, and then you'll stay there until the Palio race has been won. By which contrada? I don't know, but you have a 10% chance of getting it right. So that's it for now from Palio Live. We'll see you again shortly with the historical